Good afternoon, room two. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of another week. It's officially been 2 weeks since I've seen you guys, which was on Friday, not February, God, Friday, March 13th, because it was Friday the 13th. Sorry about the quality of this video. I can't find my iPad, and that iPad did videos with a lot better quality. So now I'm having to use my laptop, which it's just this cheap laptop. It's not even that great. My iPads work better. So I'm gonna give this a shot. Back to Coraline. Bring out your sketch notes if you have them. Okay. I think, hopefully, today, fingers crossed, we may actually finish chapter 6. This is the longest chapter we've had in Coraline yet. Thank you for your patience and hanging on with me, okay? So, Coraline, I'll read a little of where I left off last time. Coraline shook her head. I don't want to play games with you, she said. I want to go home and be with my real parents. I want you to let them go, to let us all go. The other mother shook her head very slowly. Sharper than a serpent's tooth, she said, is a daughter's ingratitude. Still, the proudest spirit can be broken with love. And her long white fingers waggled and caressed the air. I have no plans to love you, said Coraline. No matter what, you can't make me love you. Let's talk about it, said the other mother, and she turned and walked into the lounge. Coraline followed her. The other mother sat down on the big sofa. She picked up a shopping bag from beside the sofa and took out a white, rustling paper bag from inside it. She extended the hand with it to Coraline. Would you like one? She asked politely. Expecting it to be a toffee or a butterscotch, Coraline looked down. The bag was half filled with large, shiny black beetles crawling over each other in their efforts to get out of the bag. No, said Coraline. I don't want one. Suit yourself, said the other mother. She carefully picked out a large, particularly large and black beetle, pulled off its legs, which she dropped neatly into a big glass ashtray on the small table beside the sofa, and popped the beetle into her mouth. She crunched it happily. Yum. She took another one. You're sick, said Coraline. Sick and evil and weird. Is that any way to talk to your mother? Her other mother asked, with her mouth full of black beetles. You aren't my mother, said Coraline. Her other mother ignored this. Now, I think you are a little overexcited, Coraline. Perhaps this afternoon we could do a little embroidery together, or some watercolor painting. Then dinner, and then, if you have been good, you may play with my rats a little before bed. And I shall read you a story and tuck you in and kiss you good night. Her long white fingers fluttered gently like a tired butterfly, and Coraline shivered. No, said Coraline. The other mother sat on the sofa. Her mouth was set in a line, and her lips were pursed. Yes. She popped another black beetle into her mouth, and then another, like someone with a bag of chocolate-covered raisins. Her big black button eyes stared into Coraline's hazel eyes. Her shiny black hair twined and twisted about her neck and shoulders, as if it were blowing in some wind that Coraline could not touch or feel. There's a lot of descriptions in this paragraph, in these last few pages actually. It'd be great for sketch notes. Black beetles, shiny black hair, pursed lips. They stared at each other for over a minute. And then the other mother said, Manners! She folded the white paper bag carefully so no black beetles could escape, and she placed it back in the shopping bag. Then she stood up, and up, and up, She seemed taller than Coraline had remembered. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out first the black door key, which she frowned at and tossed into her shopping bag, and then a tiny silver key. She held it up triumphantly. "There we are," she said. "This is for you, Coraline, for your own good, because I love you, to teach you manners. Manners, after all." She pulled Coraline back into the hallway and advanced upon the mirror at the end of the hall. Then she pushed the tiny key into the fabric of the mirror and she twisted it. It opened like a door, revealing a dark space behind it. "You may come out when you've learned some manners," said the other mother, "and when you're ready to be a loving daughter." She picked up Coraline and pushed her into the dim space behind the mirror. A fragment of beetle was sticking to her lower lip, and there was no expression at all in her black button eyes. Then she swung the mirror door closed and left Coraline in the darkness. And that's finally the end of chapter 6. Starting of chapter 7. Let's see, is this a long one? Oh yeah, another long one. All right, I'll start chapter 7. And even though I don't like to show the picture before I read it, I will, given our circumstances. This is the start of chapter 7. If you're following along or have a book, this is on page 97. Somewhere inside her, Coraline could feel a huge sob welling up, and then she stopped it before it came out. She took a deep breath and let it go. She put out her hands to touch the space in which she was imprisoned. It was the size of a broom closet, tall enough to stand or sit in, not wide enough to lie down in. One wall was glass, and it felt cold to the touch. She went around the tiny room a second time, running her hand over every surface that she could reach, feeling for doorknobs or switches or concealed catches, some kind of way out, and she found nothing. A spider scuttled over the back of her hand, and she choked back a shriek. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. Choke it back. I would just belt it out at the top of my lungs. Ah! But apart from the spider, she was alone in the closet, in the pitch dark. And then her hand touched something that felt, for all the world, like somebody's cheek and lips, small and cold. And a voice whispered in her ear, "Hush and shush, say nothing, for the beldam might be listening." Coraline said nothing. She felt a cold hand touch her face, fingers running over it like the gentle beat of a moth's wings. Another voice, hesitant and so faint Coraline wondered if she was even imagining it, said, "Art thou alive?" "Yes," whispered Coraline. "Poor child," said the first voice. "Who are you?" whispered Coraline. "Names, names, names," said another voice, all far away and lost. "The names are the first things to go, after the breath has gone, and the beating of the heart. We keep our memories longer than our names. I still keep pictures in my mind of my governess on some May morning, carrying my hoop and stick, and in the morning sun behind her, and all the tulips bobbing in the breeze. I still have forgotten the name of my governess, and the tulips too." "I don't think tulips have names," said Coraline. "They're just tulips." "Perhaps," said the voice sadly. "But I have always thought that these tulips must have had names. They were red and orange and red and yellow, and like the embers of the nursery fire of a winter's evening. I remember them." The voice sounded so sad that Coraline put a hand out to the place where the voice was coming from, and she found a cold hand, and she squeezed it tightly. Her eyes were beginning to get used to the darkness. Now Coraline saw, or imagined that she saw, three shapes, each as faint and pale as the moon in the daytime sky. They were the shapes of children about her own size. The cold hand squeezed her hand back. "Thank you," said the voice. "Are you a girl or a boy?" asked Coraline. There was a pause. "When I was small, I wore skirts, and my hair was long and curled," it said. "But now that you ask, it does seem to me that one day they took my skirts and gave me breeches and cut my hair." "'Tain't something we give a mind to," said the first of the voices. "A boy, perhaps, then," continued the one whose hand she was holding. "I believe I was once a boy." And it glowed a little more brightly in the darkness of the room behind the mirror. "What happened to you all?" asked Coraline. "How did you come here?" "She left us here," said one of the voices. "She stole our hearts, she stole our souls, and she took away our lives, and she left us here. She forgot about us in the dark." "You poor thing," said Coraline. "How long have you been here?" "So very long a time," said a voice. "Aye, time beyond reckoning," said another voice. "I walked through the scullery door," said the voice of the one that thought it might be a boy, "and I found myself back in a parlor, but she was waiting for me. She told me she was my other mamma, but I never saw my true mamma again." "Flee," said the very first of the voices, another girl, Coraline fancied. "Flee while there's still air in your lungs and blood in your veins and warmth in your heart. Flee while you still have your mind and your soul." "I'm not running away. She has my parents. I came to get them back." "Ah, but she'll keep you here a while the days turn to dust and the leaves fall and the years pass one after the next like the tick, tick, ticking of a clock." "No," said Coraline, "she won't." There was a silence in the room behind the mirror. "Peradventure," said a voice in the darkness, "if you could win your mamma and your papa back from the beldam, you could also win free our souls." "Has she taken them?" asked Coraline, shocked. "Aye, and hidden them. This is why we could not leave here. When we died, she kept us, and she fed on us. Until now, we've nothing left of ourselves, only snake skins and spider husks. Finding our secret hearts, find our secret hearts, young mistress." I'm going to stop there. End it off on page 102. Okay, right there. Top of page 102. And we're midway through chapter 7. See you guys next time.